Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. I am Brad Chester, Master of Technology. As you can see by the streaming, the fact that I put the GW screen on here and did a terrible job of it. But I do have people with me. Introduce yourself, you fools.
Kyle, go ahead.
Hello, I am Kyle Treya, and I am the dumber but more fun half of the Clio pair.
And I'm Brandon Valley, and I'm lost in the war because I'm not at my hobby desk.
No, you are not. You are actually by my house.
I am in Michigan right now, which is way, way, way far away from Tennessee, where my pile of shame is currently growing at the moment.
My pile of shame. We're going to talk about followers of chaos and followers of the Emperor. People that believe so purely that they actually get superpowers. I am the sloth from Goonies of Technology. You are not wrong. And I'm going to try to scroll, like, not super fast so you guys just don't, like, literally get Blair Witch Cam, like, throw up on it. Dude, let's talk about demons. The Kyle part of the Kalile is ready to talk about demons. I think that they're pretty badass. I think that their core rule, the Shadows of Chaos, dude, that's a strong rule, and it's actually really easy to pull off. So, effectively, you have areas of the battlefield, and you have your deployment zone, neutral zone, and your opponent's deployment zone are the three areas that you can have Shadows of Chaos in, and it's strong. And all you have to do is control half of the objectives. So, you know, if we have the same type of objectives, if you're on, we'll just do missions now. Recover the relics, data scry intercept, you know what I mean? Hold one of the ones across the diagonal and then just don't let them kill the middle off. Is a big deal on that. And then that whole area then is considered Shadows of Chaos. I keep wanting to say Shadows of the Warp. So, but like, dude, you get to bring back people, and you literally get to, anytime they have a battle shock test, which we've seen that those are fairly relevant now.
Mm-hmm.
You're -1 on the test, and if you fail the test, you suffer D3 mortals in addition to anything else. I think that's pretty strong, dude. You got to figure that you're putting even like, exactly, Corey goes, Necron's leadership of 7. You're failing the test more than 50% of the time versus good armies on that. I can't even imagine the bad army. Like, we haven't even seen like things like orcs and stuff. I mean, if their leadership's trashed here and you just all of a sudden control a couple of objectives, whoo.
So I will say that it says at the start of any phase for the Shadows of Chaos. So it's going to be a little bit harder to like move into place, claim the objectives in the center in no man's land, and then drop in. But if you've already established board control pretty heavily in like your first turn, and turn 2, if you have the shadows in no man's land, like 6-inch deep strike is insane. You're just going to be all over them, and there's nothing that anyone can do.
And it's pretty easy on a lot of, like I said, a lot of the missions are going to be super easy. Recover the relics, data scry, any of the 6 objective, Tides of Conviction, you're almost always, because it's not control more, it's control half, at least half. So, so that's fairly easy in a lot of the current missions. Obviously, we'll probably get some new missions, but dude, that's strong. And the effects of battle shock are pretty nasty in the first place. If you're making people test at -1, which means they're failing more than half the time, plus taking some mortals and not counting as objective control, whoo, shoo doggy.
So one of the observations I noticed is that, like, with most of the army overviews, they review one of the troop choices, and with demons, they specifically did not. Do you think that means they're going to change the squad of demons? Like right now, it's just 10. Do you think it'll be like flexible 10 to 20, 10 to 30, like it used to be?
I think so. What do you think about that? I don't. You probably haven't been around for as long, but like, demon units were way bigger for forever.
I would love them to be way bigger, like that. The idea, all the stuff that we've read, my idea that I'm thinking about in my head is that like you're going to really lean into the board control and the battle shock tactics of demons. So if you have like way bigger units that are just gumming up objectives and they're everywhere, and you're regenning and then you're dealing mortal wounds just by standing around near them, that's that is the game I want to play for sure.
I mean,
so where does it say they're dealing mortal wounds?
On the battle, demonic terror. While enemy units within your army's shadow of chaos, each time the unit takes a battle shock test, subtract 1 from that test, and if the test is failed, that enemy unit suffers D3 mortal wounds. That's big, man. That you got to figure that you've got ways to force. We've already seen Tyranids doing it with board wide with Shadows of the Warp, but we've also seen just like them have their Screamer Killer force battle shock test, and I'm assuming that that's going to be a mechanic that other people have. You know what I mean? So giving them that at -1 and giving them, and it's a huge -1. It's not like you have to be within 6 inches like you do now with the demons. You're literally, I like that. The Goonies is 38 years old, and I'm significantly older. I saw Goonies when I was a teenager, so but just not even having to worry about that distance, you know what I mean? You're just doing it in a full area. Neutral zone is gigantic in most of the missions, so that's a big deal.
Yeah, Demonic Terror is super cracked. I think it's going to be awesome. Like, because of the way that the wording is when it says you gain Shadows of Chaos whenever, like in the start of any phase, you just move out, you claim 2 objectives or whatever, you have Shadows in the center where you're going to be fighting typically, and then you just start demonic tearing units, and then if they fail, they're taking additional casualties on top of whatever you're dealing anyway.
Now, one of the big things that I'm reading into this too, let's go to Warp Rift. She already brought it up a little bit. The 6-inch, if you're in Shadows of Chaos, it's 6 inches instead of 9 inches, but they specifically said 6 inches horizontally. So I think that you won't be able to manufacture extra distance for height anymore. It's just going to be when you strike in horizontally, you're either 6 or 9 inches away.
Which makes sense. It's a cleaned up way to describe what they actually want for deep striking.
100%. You can't do the old Reaver deep strike where you deep strike 9 away and still make a 1-inch charge. So
I'm going to abuse that hypotenuse of this ruin.
Yep. You're like, Batman incoming. Cha-ching! Here you go.
I'm ready for someone to, complain about horizontal. Like, well, it's 6 inches horizontal and vertically. Like,
yeah. Like, I'm not 100% sure what horizontal means. But that's pretty strong. You can make easy charges. You can get all your weapons off. I mean, hell, you can get a pistol off on this. So.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll have icons to modify charges or make it roll 3d6 instead of 2d6.
Well, that's it, dude. I mean, even at 2d6 at 6 inches, that's super easy.
76% of the time.
I mean, that's just, you can do some serious damage with that. And also, again, it's more of that, like I was saying earlier, you can really dominate the board and put demonic terror on everyone, steal objectives. It just sounds like this is going to be a very powerful army. Now, with that, they go into the demonic pact rules, which looks like they didn't say anything about any keywords besides that. They just want you to use whatever. And I love this, by the way, because screw you with stop trying to use flamers in your Emperor's Children. You're bad people. Bad. No, get off the couch. Squirt, squirt. So, but if you're world leaders, you can bring demons of Khorne. If you're Thousand Sons, demons of Zinj, so on and so forth. You know what I mean? And I like that a lot because it makes more thematic armies. And we'll see. Also, it looks like you can bring up to 500 points. We're basically, I'm assuming we're just going to continue to play Strike Force at 2000. So you can bring 500 points of demons and inside your regular Chaos armies. I think that's going to be awesome.
Also, I think it forces you to take Lucius the Eternal if you want to Slaanesh.
Yeah, why is that the caveat for?
I don't know, by the way. I'm not 100% sure why they're just like, also take Lucius.
You have to take that guy.
You have to buy this model that you cannot find.
Well, also, Lucius was literally terrible for 20 straight years. There was a point in time when we kept figuring out who was the worst special character in the game, and Lucius laughably won multiple times. Yes, and also no more power level. Fuck, power level can eat a bag of dicks. I hated looking that up. You're like, well, it's not half your points in Deep Strike. It's also a power level. You're like, I don't know what the power level of anything is. Let me go look. Also, the power levels were wildly off. They're like, you can take these 600 giant units for 6 power level. You're like, or you can take 10 Dire Avengers for 12.
13.
Yeah, it's just like, what? Like,
I didn't like how, like, if you had a 6-man squad out of 10, it was like, all right, well, it's 10 power level. I just added one guy. There's no fractions.
Nope. It's all in, baby. Power level was all or nothing. I live my life a quarter mile at a time. So I actually think this is going to make a lot of cool armies out of the bat because you can throw in these demons with that. I wonder what what special rules you'll get off their data cards with that, because we haven't seen the troop data cards. Let's do a unit spotlight. Let's start with the Keeper, because the Keeper seems pretty badass.
Well, I think the first thing to just notice, like, everyone was like, well, is Gilliman going to get 21 attacks between his 2 close combat weapons? And I'm like, that doesn't make sense. I don't think he will. But now they finally defined how do you get extra close combat attacks in close combat with the extra attacks keyword. So now we know who is and who isn't getting a ton of attacks. And it looks like these demon guys are getting an obscene amount of attacks.
I think it's something to point out is that we're going to look at both Keeper and Bellicor. And the thing is that I thought was really significant is they both have a significant amount of ranged attacks. They've got a lot of pew-pew between them.
Well, that's because Psychic is getting folded into range, right? So, like, I think when we get to Bellicor, he has 3 Psychic profile shots. I mean,
Yeah.
the ranged whip on the Keeper of Secrets is pretty good, especially because you could just ranged whip and then Psychic, and then, 38 attacks with all the lobster claws. Like this unit is really good, but like there's some things on here I'm not concerned about, but like I'm wondering about. Specifically, I'm thinking about Psychic a lot when I read these. Is like you've lost a lot of the flexibility in Psychic from what we know, which we only know 5%, right? Where are the spells that allow you to like move around the board or do something else? If all of the Psychic currently is just in the form of another shooting attack, they've really dumbed it down. And that's going to maybe irritate some people who relied heavily on spells that did other things for you in the game instead of just dealing damage.
Yeah, we'll see on that. You will see if the other the psychic test used to be taken in whatever the relevant phase was. We just didn't even have a psychic phase for a long time. You just cast Witchfires in the shooting phase, and you cast movement spells in the movement phase and stuff like that. We did that for a really long time. So we'll see what they do. They're bringing a lot of stuff back, and they're bringing a lot of AOS rules in. So we'll see what's up with that. I do think it's a big deal that everyone within 6 that's a Slaneshi Demonica is getting +1 AP. I think that's huge. And the fact that we don't have a ton of AP right now, just having +1 AP in a 6-inch aura, kind of a big deal. And it's Slanesh Legion's Demonica, which this is this creature. You know what I mean? Does it buff its own AP though?
Yeah, so as a unit within 6.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm like, it's all this shit is AP3 then. I mean, this is a significant unit, man. And that's true. Apparently, Emperor's Children's going to have only Lucius if we're in Index. That could be possibly KR. So, and speaking of badasses, I mean, Bellicor looks buck wild.
Oh, yeah.
So, that's pretty big. And also, you look at the Polo Despair. Ooh, in the battle check stop of your opponent's command phase, if an enemy unit is below the starting strength, it's within 6 inches of this model, which just means that you're obviously moving in, you're assaulting people. The unit must take a battle shock test. For the purposes of the ability, the unit has starting strength of 1 is considered to be below its starting strength while it has lost 1 or more wounds. So if anything's even wounded, battle shock test, and then you're putting those mortal wounds on them. That's just a lot. You know what I mean? You can do some nastiness here.
Have they defined stealth yet?
No, not yet.
No.
So it's potential that this guy is way easier to kill than he used to be.
I mean, it's probably something like -1 in the shooting phase or something like that, or benefits from cover all the time or so. Something that would give him the availability to.
Yeah, but whoa! This model's a billion times better than it used to be. Did you not read Wreathed in Shadows? Well, a friendly Legion Demonica unit is within 6 inches of this model that you can only be targeted by a ranged attack of the attacking models within 18. That's big for early on in the game.
Yeah.
I think the big thing is you only get to choose one per turn. So you got to make sure you're picking the right one, because I could see someone picking the wrong one and the game becoming very hard. And I've noticed like just the quantity of buffs between all the armies has dramatically gone down, as we'll see with Sisters and even Gilman. Like they get a buff, not 3, not 4 like they used to, but 1. Which, I mean, it makes the game more interesting because you have to think about your strategies, but you get 1 buff. That's it.
It is interesting that like Be'lakor doesn't have re-roll anything near him abilities other than battle shock tests, right?
Yes. Well, it's funny because we've seen them talk about limiting the amount of rerolls, then going buck wild with rerolls, but no one else has been getting rerolls, so we'll see about this.
So I want to talk about Be'lakor quickly, just like this edition's version of Be'lakor into potentially next edition's version of Be'lakor. My thoughts on Be'lakor right now is that he's a trap unit. I think that he provides a lot of utility, but he also just soaks up too much fire. You either have to play him cagey at the back of the field, and he just doesn't do what you want him to do, and you've lost 420 points. And then when he's dead, he never gets to punch up or remove enough to get 420 points back. This version of Be'lakor in 10th edition seems so much better. He's still going to soak up all the shots, but the flexibility of his shadow form abilities and all the other dumb stuff that he does. I mean, the other thing that he does, which is you can deep strike people within 6 inches of him, is huge. You can do that kind of right now, but like moving forward, using one of your shadow form abilities and then deep striking within 6 of him is going to be incredibly big, in my opinion.
Agreed on that. And he's also got that big guy sweep attack and big attacks with a really good AP for both of them, especially when we're looking at a lot of weapons that are doing less damage. I'm a little bummed that they've made his attack, the big attack, D6 plus 1 as opposed to D3 plus 3 kind of deal. So you're going to get a little bit swingier. I like it when you can just consistently put down. Again, ton of ranged attacks from his psychic attacks, though. So, I mean, 12 attacks off that is big.
Also notice he doesn't ignore multiple saves anymore. So maybe, I mean, they introduced demonic saves because there were weapons that reduce or ignored invulnerable saves or modified them.
Hey,
maybe that's out of the game.
You don't know because we can't see the other side of the card. They're only showing us the one side. The other side could be no one can take a save within 30 inches of Be'lakor. They're like, man, that other side of the card was a big deal. We should have looked at that first.
So with his psychic spell, though, I don't exactly remember how devastating wounds is worded. When you deal a devastating wound with a 6, does it stop is it an additional like modifier? You know what I mean? Like, does it continue that specific attack as well, or do you just get the mortal wound from it? Because if you get both,
and so far it looks like it's both. It's just an addition because it doesn't say stop the attack sequence.
Right. That's big. Like, I like all of these psychics so far, which makes me really excited to see anything Tzeentch. Because if he has 12 shots, what's a Lord of Change going to have? Like
or
24?
Too many shots.
Or Flamers and Exalted and stuff like that. What do you think about Big Fatty's attack? The big old Bioblade.
Well, now you're just being discriminatory, Brad. He's the most friendly of the demons.
I mean, I'm not wrong. Whether he's friendly or not, he is definitely Big Fatty. I mean, I am fat shaming him all day long, apparently, but he is large and in charge. He's so big that people are coming out from inside of him out. So Nurglings literally live there.
So we're talking about the extra attacks like that.
Bioblade with lethal hits and extra attacks.
Lethal hits is 6's auto wound, right?
Yeah.
Yep, and then
extra attacks is just reading as malefic, correct? Like that's just you get X amount of extra attacks with that weapon and it can't be modified.
Yeah, weapons with extra attacks in their profile are known as extra attack weapons. Each time the bearer of such a weapon fights, it can make attacks with that weapon in addition to the ones it chooses to fight with. The number of attacks with an extra weapons attack cannot be modified by others. So basically, he has whatever his profile is, which we haven't seen, and then he just gets 3 attacks with this.
Yeah, so look at the Keeper of Secrets. Keeper of Secrets is getting 6 attacks with the sword, 4 attacks with his claws, and 3 attacks with the ritual knife.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a shit ton. I'm going to scroll back up and make everybody sick here. But, like, that's just a shit ton. Yeah, I mean, you've got... These are all, like, significant attacks. Obviously, we have to look at point values, but, like, both of these models, and we haven't seen the big dog, we don't know how many attacks he has, but Bellicor and the Keeper both have a significant amount of damage that they output between the melee and psychic / shooting phase. It's just a good volume with a good AP. So,
but both of these models are substantially easier to kill than they used to be. I mean, we don't know if there's more on the backside of this card, but for me, just looking at it, I'm like, this is way easier to kill than it was before.
Oh, looks like you can make it so it's untargetable, possibly. Let's talk about Slaughter and Carnage. Scarbrand, the Wingless Wonder.
So how many attacks did he have before, to keep it in perspective?
Not as many as this.
I think 8 still.
They're only showing you his ranged attacks, by the way. If they're ranged, you got to get her some ranged on it. You got to throw those axes, which you can't.
It's not range. It's his melee.
I know. I said I wanted to have some range. Throw those axes, baby. Have them returned to him.
His range is anger. That's his attack at range.
Exactly.
He's just being mad.
I mean, it's significant that he's one of the first guys that you see do just a ton of damage. He's got 8 attacks that do 6 damage per.
Yeah, this is the answer to Monday's question, right? Crawley was like, "Well, we haven't seen anything that can walk up and just punch a tank to death." Well, now you have it.
Yeah, I mean, strength 16, AP 4. This dude can drop elbows on stuff. Also, 6 damage apiece is a lot.
You pick that thing up. You deep strike at 6 inches in the center of the board. You make your charge, and then you pick whatever he touches up. The end.
Also, his sweep attack still AP 1, damage 2. So.
Yeah, the AP of everything.
I do agree with Corey on this. He goes, the Slanesh Demon is -1 to hit, 4+ invulnerable, and 5 with final pain. How is that easier to kill?
Totally easier to kill. Because there's more mortal wounds in the game. I mean, that's
also true. They are not towering, so you can obscure them now. Let's talk about this like legit stratagem. So
yeah, this stratagem is really good.
It's 1 CP. I love the when targeted effect. It's so much easier. Thank you, GW. I can yell at you for so many other things, but this is cleaned up so much. 1 demonic unit from your army that is with the range of an objective marker you control. The effect: the objective marker is said to be corrupted and remains under your control even if you have no models with range of it until your opponent controls it at the start or end of any turn. In addition, while an objective marker is corrupted and under your control, the area of the battlefield within 6 inches of that objective marker is considered to be within your army's shadow of chaos. Dude, that's big. So you can literally steal shit. You know what I mean? Even if you're not controlling something, like in the command phase, if you're still there, you can put this down. Mm-hmm. I mean, you can do some shenanigans with this shit.
Now, unfortunately, you can't, from how I'm understanding it, you can't corrupt real space and then move and then drop stuff in. Like 4 Shadows of Chaos. You can't corrupt something in the command phase and then have half of them corrupted 4 Shadows of Chaos at the start of the movement phase.
I don't know, to be honest with you. Obviously, we'll have to look through that. So let's look at this cool old school picture. By the way, they put the word from the studio. The picture under this is like 20 years old. I love everything about it. Yeah, I don't either. Brandon was yelling at me before the stream about which one was which, and I immediately lost that information.
I'm going to make you a cheat sheet.
I do need it in front of me. Devastating, lethal, crushing, kung fu master wounds. They all have something different. I really know what they are. So we will see. We will see. But what are you guys' overall thoughts of demons coming out of the gate? Obviously, again, we're only getting the faction focus. What are your thoughts? Non-demon player, go.
I think you're going to have way more bodies on the table than you used to. I think they're going to push you to have a ton of infantry on the table. So you can actually control the table, control the objectives, and have enough bodies to do all the fun controlling of not only the objectives of making people forcing them to take mortal wounds, forcing them to be able to stay more than 6 inches away for deep strike interactions. I just think it's going to be a lot larger army than what we saw in 10th edition. Back to having 10 to 20 man units.
Demon Master.
Yeah, I'm really excited about all of this so far. I was pretty, like I said multiple times before, apprehensive about what was going to change, but I think these changes are great, and I hope that we move to above 10 minimum in squads. I just want to see demons turn into a true swarm army and have hundreds of things on the table, and then like 2 big guys.
I mean, that's how it used to be.
Yeah.
That's the way I want to play them. That's why I'm kind of playing them currently. I just want to have more. If I could put 60 demonettes on the table and just surround them with a keeper's secrets and roll in and just lobster claw people, that's 100% what I want to do.
Lobster claw. What happened? I got lobster clawed, yo. I got lobster clawed. So we will see on that. I think that I'd like to play more of a swarm army with demons. Just bringing a shit ton of stuff down. That looks like it's going to be a big deal. I do like the fact that you can get rerolls on your battle shock test, because that is one of the things that's going to be a thing when we move forward. Is I think if you're bringing super MSU, people that make you take a lot of battle shock tests are going to be tough to play against at that point in time. So I think this is going to be a sick army. I think the Shadows of Chaos rule is pretty boss mode, to be honest with you. I think that you're going to be able to just doing chip mortals all over the place is just going to be that shit just adds up, man. You know what I mean? You just, especially against a lot of the 1 wound armies, it's a big deal. Exactly, KR. Notabonic saves is nice. Keep it all the same. It was, you don't need 50 other keywords on that.
I agree.
You ready to talk about the Girls of the Empire?
Well, there's something else that came out yesterday. We got to talk about those new combat patrols.
Oh, that's true. You know,
I mean, I don't know if I care necessarily about like the enhancements and everything, because that's more crusade oriented, but we get a sneak peek at what the Terminator Captain's going to look like.
Yeah, we also saw that the Thunderhammer apparently lost a little bit of its juice. They don't get as much thunder in the hammer. You can quote me on that. Less thunder in the hammer.
He lost the juice. But
not so Thunderhammer.
But if you look at Chain Fist, like we were looking at Chain Fist for the basic Terminator entry where it was anti-vehicle 4+. Well, this is anti-vehicle 3+. So apparently his Chain Fist is just better.
Yeah. And so we're slowly, it's funny that we had that. Monday we talked about, is there any melee that can hurt vehicles? And they're like, how about this?
Maybe.
So the hammer lost a damage on it.
Yeah.
It is now damage 2. It lost a little bit of juice.
What's the AP?
2.
But if you look too, Brad, so they have combi weapons now. So is it combi weapon? The sword bolter is a combi weapon, or is this a, the half of combi weapon with like flamer / 1/2 flamer 1 / bolter? Because it has a different ballistic skill.
Let's show people ways to play Warhammer Crusade.
I think this is referring to a combi bolter. Because looking at the entry, like they have the auxiliary grenade launcher, so they have the base Terminator Captain that's going to come out in the new starter box. And then they have the Horus Heresy Terminator Captain, which is relatively new, who does have a grenade launcher on top of him, who does have a combi bolter.
What article is it that it's the Combat Patrols one that has that hammer in it?
Yeah. Ways to play Warhammer 40,000. Combat Patrol is fast and fun.
Got it. Give me a moment. Click. There we go. I had to put it back in. I didn't have this one up. I had the other two. I was not prepared for your extra questions.
Oh, that is a good point. KR said the custodes hate hammers. True. Like if you're moving from 3 to 2, you're not just dusting custodes all the
True.
time.
You're not just whack-a-moling them. Hey, failed save. Later. But I like the fact that I actually like this captain ability. It's Captain Octavius, but the fact that he rerolls charges is kind of a big deal.
That's all Terminator captains.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's just that's strong, especially if you can manufacture being closer. Rerolling charges on a deep strike is a big deal.
And I like how the relic shield. So apparently, just Terminators have a invulnerable save down. That's kind of cool. But now they might have relic shields that give additional wounds. So when you're looking at Thunderhammer, Storm Shield Terminators, they might have 4 wounds each.
That's a big deal too. So, bing, 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 bong. Still moving 5. The fact that they don't get any benefits, basically sitting in cover does nothing, is a big deal too, because you can't take like your 0-up save, which means that Terminator armor, while very nice, is going to be susceptible to lower AP weapons. You know what I mean? When you just put a volume into them.
No, what it was is if the weapon has 0 AP, you don't get the benefit of cover if you have 3+ save or better.
Right.
So if it's AP 1, 2, you would get the benefit of cover.
Right, but the thing is that you no longer get that +1 for the shield and then +1 for cover and everything else.
Oh, yeah.
So you're just not getting that, hey, I shot you with a las cannon, I'm going to just shake that off like I'm going to
I got this.
I'm going to lightsaber that shit. Get out of my face.
Pew.
Pew, pew, pew.
I like that.
So just noticing some other observations, like there's no single lightning claw. It's only twin lightning claws for this particular individual.
Yeah. I like that, though, in the first place. Because in fluff-wise, I don't even know if they've ever had a guy that just had 1 lightning claw, to be honest with you.
It's Wolfguard did.
No, I mean, think about the stories and stuff. Everybody had a pair. Everybody came with a pair of lightning claws.
Who's the Space Wolves guy that's like a jester he does like a lot of...
Lucas the Trickster.
Didn't he have 1, or did he have 2?
He had 2 wolf claws.
He had 2 wolf claws. It's always a pair. It's like the Sith code. There's always 2.
So I am curious to see if he actually gets like combi weapons with melta-gun versions built in. We don't know. Maybe they have that on the back of the card. I would imagine he would be able to get access to a combi flamer or combi melta-gun because it's so iconic, but clearly we just don't know based on this current entry.
You know what? We're going to talk about nuns with guns.
All right,
Faith.
I need
Brothers
to have
in Christ.
Faith in the Emperor. Yeah.
All right, pull that up.
Acts of Faith. If your army is adepta sororitas, each unit from your army with this ability can perform one act of faith per phase. This is done using miracle dice. And you get miracle dice by existing. You get 1. If you're not tabled, you get the miracle die. Every time something's destroyed, you get a miracle dice. That's actually legit, and you might have a lot different looking sisters armies because you might bring a lot of chaff just to generate a lot of miracle dice. Because, and let's scroll. I think I might scroll to the character though, because St. Catherine makes.
Well, let's look at miracle dice real quick.
Let's go to performing acts of faith.
So I also agree with you, Brad. You're going to have way more miracle dice, and given the fact that they do all the stuff that they currently do right now, fantastic. You will be able to truly use and abuse those miracle dice with how many units I would take in a Sisters Battle army.
And I mean, look, it's still advanced, battle shock, charge, damage roll. I'm just going. You know what? We're skipping the thing, and I want to look at St. Catherine for a minute because she's like the freaking poster child for abusing miracle dice. 1, anything that's within 6 inches of her, the miracle die is just considered a 6, which is boss mode. Also, if you're within 6 inches of her, you just go, I'm going to use as many dice as I want. It just...
So, just like, the demons and Gilliman, you only get to choose 2 of these buffs. Whereas in the previous edition, you get to choose all 6. So while they are really impressive, I like the one that gives you lethal hits for any unit within 6 inches. You still only get to choose 2.
True, but I like that though because it's tactical. You have to make choices. You're not just going derp. This just does everything. You have to choose what you know, what is the buff? What is the most effective use of these buffs every single turn? I love that a lot. I think it adds tactical flexibility. It adds strategy into the game. You know what I mean? So, like at the beginning of the game, you're just going to make sure that you always have, you know, getting those sixes on the miracle dice. And then as you continue up, maybe you're pushing forward. You want all those lethal hits, things of that nature. You know what I mean? Also, dude, just adding one to rapid fire guns and then putting, you know, lethal hits on them, you can do some serious stuff on that, man. That's just.
Can we look at the fact that she has 18 swings now in close combat?
Yeah, she's not screwing around there.
So you look at, like, before you pick these, the start of the battle round, right? At the start of the battle round, yeah. So you see what you're playing, and you're like, oh, well, these are my two beneficial ones. This is what I take.
Yeah,
I think do you just auto take the miracle one all the time though? Because, like, why wouldn't you, right?
Well,
the rest of the stuff is good.
Well, it depends on the thing is if you're just about to get in a scrum, you might take both the lethal hits and +1 to rapid fire. If you're looking to put down, if you're playing demons and they have huge 20-man units, you might just make everybody come out and just a billion shots with their bolters. You know what I mean? Because it's just the setup. Because you get to know at the beginning of the battle round, so it's a big deal on that. You know what I mean?
No, the one that I like is being able to use multiple miracle dice in a turn.
That's huge. It's just uncapped. Yeah. And you're just like, you know, you go in later in the battle and just go, okay, well, I'm just going to keep doing Acts of Faith with all these sixes right here for damage, for whatever, you know what I mean? Or just auto make all of your charges kind of thing. Yeah. So that's just a big deal. You can push her up. If she's using I'm assuming she's using the same model, but we'll see. She's also got a gigantic base.
She has a knight base.
Yeah, she's also on a sleigh, but she has the infantry keyword. And apparently she slays.
Slay queen.
I do like the fact that she has a bunch of keywords and then the grenades keyword.
So do you think she has the grenade keyword?
Yeah.
Yes.
She literally has infantry, grenades, character, epic hero, Imperium, Triumph of St. Catherine. So
do you think she'll be able to join units?
I don't know, because she's not a lone operator. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So it would be awkward to have that giant, but like if you can't, she could get some serious distance with her buffs if she's just coming with a mob of other girls. You know what I mean? That seems legit. And she also literally, I just do love the fact that she literally rolls with a posse of girls and she brought everything from the armory. She has all of the relics. She's like,
including a pepperoni pizza in the back.
Yeah. Why not? The girl's gonna get hungry, man.
So scroll up, Brad. Look at the detachment rule, the Blood of Martyrs.
Dude, this is boss mode. Actually, I don't know if it's gonna be easy to do though, because anytime, I got excited about this, but when I looked at it, it goes each time a sister's model from your army makes an attack, add 1 to the hit roll if the model's unit is below its starting strength. Add 1 to the wound roll as well if the model's unit is below half strength. Purpose of this ability, if a unit has a starting strength of 1, is considered to be below its starting strength if it's wounded. I mean, how often do you just leave units just wounded, though? That's my thing. It's like...
All right, well, let's take a look at, demons, where if you have a 5-girl sister squad, you're getting D3 mortals. Oh, I accidentally took 3 mortals and 3 dead sisters. Well, my Melta and Melta Gunner are still alive. Hey, they're now hitting on 2s, and they're wounding on 2s.
Agreed. I mean, it's situational, but we have a lot of things that do that right now, and we don't use them because typically people put enough shots or attacks to pick up a full unit every time they're doing it. So I don't know. I think it's going to be very situational, so I don't know how much I like that.
I think it's going to come into play a lot. I think like with Repentia, it's going to come into play because typically they're really fragile, but they hit hard.
Yeah, but I don't know. It's just hard to keep somebody around this T3. You know what I mean?
So I will say that rule makes me want to take 10 girl squads instead of 5.
Yeah, I could see that, to be honest with you.
Because that rule, in tandem with the stratagem, which is discussed later on, is when 1 unit of sisters from your army has 1 or more of its models destroyed, you get to shoot immediately.
True. Plus
Like-
one to hit, plus one to wound. It'd be pretty tasty on that also.
Like, hey, here's my 4 heavy flamers, or hey, here's my 4 multi-meltas. Take it.
I mean, even at T3 though, like you see that most of the AP in the game has gone down. Like you're probably more likely to live through something now than you were before.
Possibly. It depends though, because we have just a volume of rerollable shots coming out of like power armor people and stuff like that. So I just don't know. I do like the fact that the Battle Sister squad looks to be way more legit than it used to be. I mean, dude, look at this. Like, for instance, look at all their abilities. Cherub, once per battle after this unit performs an act of faith, you just get a miracle dice. Strong. Hey, the Simulacrum. Each time a unit is destroyed by the Bearers unit, they gain a miracle dice. So, like, if more people can have that particular war gear ability, you know, as we're only seeing one unit, that's like legit, man. You could be just having a million miracle dice. You bring St. Catherine, you make them all 6s, and then you just go into your, you know, your big turns, your push turns, 3, 4, 5, and then you push in and just go, I'm using all my 6s, and I got 30 of them. You're about to get wrecked, you know. I hit it with everything, I wound with everything, and you're taking 6 damage for anything you fail.
Yeah, and you also get miracle dice for holding objectives. So this actually makes the girl squad pretty solid at holding those backfield objectives. Like, there's just so many ways to generate miracle dice. And if you have an ability to use multiple miracle dice per phase,
Well, it's also
I'm going to use those 6s to wound all the time.
Yeah, think about it though. You have Catherine. Just think about your first couple turns. You're just sitting there and you're like, hey, I got Catherine. Okay. And her giant base is going to be able to get within 6 of the unit taking the 2 objectives, you know, in your home base, basically. Mm-hmm. And you just immediately generate 1 for existing, and then you get 2 because you're on 2 objectives, and those are both 6s. You know what I mean? It's a big deal on that. So
I like the abilities. I like the way that they're written, because it just says do a thing, gain a miracle dice, do something else, gain a miracle dice, die, get a miracle dice.
Yeah. And
Go ahead, Brett.
No, it's just real quick. It's just I just think of it in tactical terms, where if I'm playing Sisters, my first couple turns are just going to be me just stockpiling a huge pile of skulls and of just 6s, you know what I mean? And then using people like Catherine, which you saw, to just go, okay, unlimited acts of faith this turn, bam, bam, bam. All of a sudden you pick up something big because you use a low strength weapon that you're auto wounding on, you know, and then you just use your 6s, and then you have your 6s for damage. Things of that nature. It just becomes super nasty. You could put away shit like pretty hardcore, because you can use stuff like we'll scroll down here a little bit, because the Exorcist and stuff like that. Like, I don't like the fact that you could go in D6 damage, for instance, with the Exorcist, but if you stocked up those 6s, all of a sudden you're like, hey, you failed a couple saves, boom, 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 666. Yeah.
And I also like how they describe indirect fire. So right now it's -1 ballistic skill, +1 armor save. Well, this just says you just get the benefit of cover.
Exactly.
I doubt benefit of cover stacks. So could we have more lethal indirect fire?
Yeah, that's what I was wondering about. So that's a big deal. I do think it's crazy that their direct shots are, you know, nothing different on that. So, I mean, obviously they shoot indirect. If no bottles are visible, they used to have to see everything. I do like the fact that this has a volume. We have had a lot of weapons that we've been revealed so far be D6 plus something. So it's like it's still a lot more random than it was, but this is a lot of shots though. Like 3D6 shots is kind of nuts.
Because right now it's just D6 shots, and I think it's 2D6. And then you have to use a command point stratagem to have the indirect fire for either one.
Correct.
But this is like, if you're firing in like a 20-man squad of orcs, so you'd have 3d6 plus 12, I think, or is it plus 4?
No, it's +1 per 5 guys.
5. Yeah, so 4.
So it'd be.
But is that modifier on each die, or is it just the base?
It's just the attacks. The thing right now that I'm worried about is if we have squads of guys that shoot indirect, because it's per weapon that you fire, like it's the plus. So if you fired at a 20-man squad with like super crack Johnny 5s, some desolation squads, you would literally have 5d6 5d6 plus 25. If you're shooting that. So that's significant. You're not real, or 5d3 plus that. You're not real worried what the hell you roll anymore if you did that.
But let's go back up to the Battle Sister squad and just look at some of the weapons. And the reason why I'm curious is because it's going to impact me as a Space Marine player. Cool. Multi-Meltas are now 18-inch range. That's not cool.
No, but the thing is that's why you're piling up those sixes on that. You know what I mean? Because you're going to pop out and make your big push at that point in time. Because it looks like everything for Sisters is just even more so now than it is right now in 9th edition. Because right now Sisters has effectively this 24-inch death range, and now it looks like it's going to be even closer. And I do like the fact that Melta is at least strength 9. You know what I mean? So you're getting over a lot of it's a little bit better, but we have so much more toughness, obviously. But if you're saving up those 6s, you've got those D6 damages, and you've got the wounds on them. So I think this army is going to be pretty crazy. I think it's going to have super swing turns, though, because you're going to be stockpiling your miracle dice, and then bam, huge turn. You know what I mean?
It's going to be a hide and seek late game, like it has been most of the night, where you're waiting for your opponent to make a mistake and you capitalize on it.
Agreed on that, but I mean, I think it's even more. It's just kind of nastier, I think, because of the fact that you're just going to have just a stockpile of 6s, especially if you're bringing Catherine. You know, we'll see on the points and everything, but man, it just feels like you're going to have huge turns because you're going to be generating so many dice. You know what I mean? Just 2 turns of her sitting next to people on 2 objectives. That's 4 6s right there. You know what I mean? If anything, it dies also more 6.
No, it'd be 6. You get 1 each battle round.
Does she generate? But I didn't know those would be 6s because the ones from your generation wouldn't be auto 6s.
Let's see. Let's look at it again.
So those would be actual rolls. Rolls, my friend. The rolls.
If this unit is destroyed, you get an automatic 6. Yeah, she doesn't make Miracle Dice 6s. It's if there's a dead unit next to her, they get 6s.
Only that.
Reading comprehension, Brad.
Yeah, that's far less.
But you're also going to be taking a whole bunch of small MSU squads to this army. I don't see why you wouldn't.
You know what? I'm going to take a whole bunch of them, so I'm going to get ones from that for sure, because I'm going to pay Death Cold Assassins and everybody else that just stuff.
So why does the multi-melted thing have you worried, Brandon? Like, you want 24?
Well, right now it's 24.
It's 24 instead. It's a big deal on that.
That just makes that as an anti-tank weapon more difficult to use without getting immediately charged.
Let's talk about Big Mama Vol's Lance of Illumination.
Pretty solid. I think she's one less attack than she used to.
Yeah. So the sweep attacks only being strength 5 are a little bit disappointing for her.
I think they're strength 5 now, Brad.
Yeah, but I'm just saying with the increase in everyone else's, like all the other characters we've seen had just a significant more oomph on like their sweeps and stuff like that. With the big increase in toughness across the board with a lot of things, I think that she's going to be way less effective in just melee. She does have devastating wounds with her big attacks. So that's a big deal.
So does devastating wounds deal damage equal to the damage on the profile, or is it just 1? And then
it's 1 mortal.
1 mortal.
And then it goes again. So, I mean, she only has 5 attacks.
Yeah.
Chances of you getting 6s is...
Sure, she should get 1.
Yeah, so right now I believe she has 6 attacks, and on the 6s to wound, she deals 2 mortal wounds in addition to damage.
Yeah. Her
So her damage output's actually less than it is now.
Right. That's what I'm saying. I feel that compared to the other characters, she's kind of like meh. You know what I mean? Let's go to the stratagem. Her lack of being awesome makes me sad. Let's go to the strat, because this strat is pretty badass. So, Rejoice the Fallen. It is a Hallowed Martyrs strategic ploy stratagem. Your opponent's shooting phase just after an enemy unit has resolved its attacks. Target: one Sisters unit from your army that has 1 or more of its models destroyed as a result of an attacking unit's attacks. The effect: Your unit can shoot as if it were your shooting phase, but it must target only that enemy unit when doing so. It can only do so if that enemy unit is an eligible target. So you can't just fire back at characters, which used to be a deal. I'm talking about you, Noise Marines. But
that's a great stratagem to have. Like,
it's legit. And it also doesn't mean your unit's destroyed or anything. You kill one model. You're like, Sister Superior got killed. You're like, we're not standing for that. Kaboom. Eat multi-melted chump. I
like that there's seemingly a lot of out of phase shooting currently, because Overwatch, if someone moves in front of you, you shoot them, and then if they shoot you, you shoot them, and then if they die in combat, you get to shoot them.
Well, you've got more responsive, it feels like, abilities, which is nice because you don't just have to stand there and let your opponent kick you for 40 minutes. You know what I mean? You actually do something during that time, which I like a lot. Because then you have to actually make decisions between Overwatch and stratagems like this. We haven't seen anything about heroics and stuff like that yet. You know what I mean? So, but it feels like you're getting more involved in your opponent's turn, and I do dig that a lot. Or at least you have options, or your opponent has to at least think about them. You know what I mean? So that's a big deal.
Do you think this is in an attempt to fix the stickiness of combat? Because Brandon, you remember at Adepticon the Terminators that just snaked off the one drop pod for 4 straight turns and we couldn't touch them?
You mean the White Scars Terminators that would literally have one guy touching a dreadnought?
And then it would 11 of them would just stretch across the board and hit something somewhere else and snake back in. Like, do you think they're trying to stop something like that from happening with you're getting to do out of phase shooting to not get locked in combat for 4 straight turns and stuff that doesn't want to be locked in combat?
Out of phase shooting has happened for a while now, since 7th edition, right, Brad?
Not like a ton, though.
Between Noise Marines, between a banner of Space Marines.
Yeah, but we haven't seen this kind of out of phase since forever. I mean, that's 2nd edition shit. You know what I mean? Or Soulburst. Yeah, bring back Soulburst, everyone. Yeah. Everybody loved that.
No.
What? That shit was universally popular.
The horror of causing 1 wound and having your unit picked up.
Everybody liked that. So let's go into what we've seen so far. So we've seen Marines, we've seen Guard, we've seen Sisters, we've seen Chaos, we've seen Demons.
Necrons.
And
Tyranids.
And Tyranids, all right. What do you guys, how do you guys feel about the relative power levels? Obviously, it's only the shit we've been shown, so I really can't, you can't do a ton with that. So,
I mean, it's exciting. We're talking about stuff. We're talking about potential interactions, but we don't know the points. Like, if the Keeper of Secrets costs 500 points, you're just never going to put it on the table. It's terrible.
True. But I'm saying, as far as what we've seen, basically all points are equal-ish, you know what I mean, across the board. Who's basically the biggest winners and who's the biggest losers in what we've been shown so far?
I mean, honestly, I think among the biggest winners are probably Tyranids, Space Marines, Demons. I think the Tyranids look crazy good.
I think Space Marines is relative. It depends on what your opponent has. So, they get full rerolls, but it's against one target. And if you're playing against Sisters, where it's all MSU, it's not really helping you.
You're forgetting, though, if you bring Bobby G, you get to do that twice.
Okay, so you can just shoot 2 5-man units of Sisters.
Those girls are getting burnt to the ground, baby.
And then they'll just shoot you. Oh, they can't shoot you back, but they'll get miracle dice so that they clap back harder next time.
Yeah,
exactly.
They get a good mechanic on that. I think I'm at the bottom. I mean, obviously we'll see what happens, but I was fairly underwhelmed with what they showed Necron so far.
So Necrons right now, you just generate way more bodies, and they just said, hey, you get D3.
Yeah, I mean, you can do it more, but they'll have to buff up the units themselves, because right now Necrons have underwhelming stats on their armies, and they just had really crazy secondaries and stuff, and I just didn't see anything there that made me go, man, Necrons are going to be exciting or awesome, you know what I mean? I guess.
the reanimation protocols is better for multi-wound models, right? So if you bring a multi-wound army, you're regenerating more.
Just a guy, yeah.
You just get a guy though.
Yeah, you just get a
Right,
guy.
but the more durable and the harder hitting, then the better value you're getting for regenerating. As opposed to regenerating 3 to 6 warriors, who cares?
Yeah, I'd like to see more from them, because that was the only one that I read that I was just like, meh. You know what I mean? This looks okay. I think guard low key looked nuts, to be honest with you. Like, it's just the volume of fire you can get.
I would just like to see more about how battle shock tests are and what actually happens, because it seems like they're increasing the impact of what leadership does, and there's multiple ways to force leadership tests. So, like with Tyranids, it's like, oh, well, my entire army can no longer hold objectives. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, Tyranids look nuts. I mean, as far as the trixiest one, I do think the demons felt like they had the most nonsense that they showed us. So that looked exciting, to be perfectly honest. To be fair.
I do like the idea for the Tyranids demons matchup is they can shadow in the warp, make everyone take battle shock tests, and then make all of the demons heal, which seems terrible for them.
Yeah. Yes, that would actually be super funny, because you're just like, thanks for making me take this battle shock test. I got half my army back. So
that's like when you roll the instrument, you rolled a 1 and you get D6 models back. Right. Oh, that's nice.
Well, reality blink, that made sense, lore wise.
Yeah. And the thing is that the demons look like they could do the most shit. Demons also look like they ask the most questions. I don't know if they have the most upfront power. We're talking about, of course, just what we've seen so far, which is we've got to fucking peek through the window while we're driving by on the street. You know what I mean? So we don't know shit about shit. But those guys look like they have a lot of shenanigans, which is really cool, because you can make people take a lot of questions. You can't just like the Marines look the easiest because they just went, derp, here's full rerolls everywhere. Just take whatever army rolls the most dice. You know what I mean? So, I don't know. What do you... go ahead.
If your Marines are your ease of entry into the hobby, even in this edition, then they have to have the most watered down generic things so that they're not complicated, so any dummy can pick it up and roll dice, right? They seem good for their ability to just be the introduction.
Yeah, for sure. They're also the most popular faction by far. I mean, it's their IP. It's their go-to. So they have to... They're going to get more people in there. There's always more people playing Marines and everything else. So, yeah, I do agree with that. So they have to have, like, good, easy-to-comprehend rules. And we'll see. Who's coming out? Who's supposed to come out tomorrow?
Votan.
I'm real curious about that.
I hope they fix them. I don't like their mechanic right now. It's either feast or famine.
Yeah, I agree on that. I'm of course super excited to see what my elves get.
Oh, we forgot Chaos Space Marines also had spoilers, and they looked meh.
I thought they looked pretty decent. Yeah, I mean
Abaddon could go through a wall.
Yeah, Abaddon goes through walls, baby. He's fucking 20 feet tall, but he just keeps pretending. He just puts a hat and a long coat on. So, I agree, man. I don't know. It looks like I'm getting a good vibe for 10, to be honest with you. It seems like we're getting some decent shit. We're gonna have some things that are fucked. It's just what happens when you get an index hammer. You know what I mean? But as a whole, it looks like it's going to be 1 billion times better than it was in the beginning of 8th. And I do love the fact that they're using the battle cards for units and stratagems and stuff like that, and making them way more clear of what the hell you're doing, which is a big fucking deal when you're playing. Make things more precise so you don't have these stupid arguments over the dumbest shit in the universe.
So I have a question for you, Brad, and I guess Brandon too. Like, what's the time? If you know it, what's the timeline of Mike Brandt coming into GW and then the editions coming out? Was he there at the launch of 9th, or did he come in somewhat through 9th?
He wasn't in 8th. He was literally playtesting in 8th. I don't. When did he come in? Is it beginning of?
It was around 8th. It was before COVID.
Or did he accept the job before COVID? I think he's only been like one tournament season, man.
Well, I think he had other roles with GW before the tournament seasons.
because this is his second season of
Yes.
tournaments.
But
Right.
so I'm going to assume it was higher during COVID because he had to get everything organized and the ball rolling for them to have a tournament season. So I would say, what, 2.5, 3 years now?
It's at least 2. I mean, I should just message him and be like, "Hey, when did you start working there?" But
Well, do you think that the like how solid 10th edition is coming out currently is directly his influence on him understanding competitive and him understanding like game balance, pushing it further?
oh, man.
I mean, I'm sure he has an impact. But I'm
Mike's
not
gonna
put
come out
everything on
beating his
him.
chest on that one. He's gonna be like, "I'm the best, the best."
Well, I mean, it's significantly better than other launches. So
Hell
that-
of it, yes. And how much of that is his, I don't know. But I have to say that this launch is looking like it's going to be significantly better because we have so much more information. And even though we're going to be playing Index Amber, you have like actually fully worded out data sheets for your guys. So I'm excited about this. I'm actually really excited. The more stuff they put out, I'm getting more and more excited for it. I wish they would give us more of the rules, to be honest with you.
See, I would like to see how you're building your army, right? So they gave us a little hint as to, what units you could take with different detachments or whatever they're called now. But we haven't seen anything like that. So, like, if it's, hey, you have to take 10 units of Battle Sisters before you can have 1 unit of Dominions, that's going to definitely change what models you're buying for 10th edition.
True.
Right?
I just like to see the rules themselves. Yeah, the detachment and some of the base rules, and then we could drip these faction focuses out because they're exciting to see. You know what I mean? But I would like to see that. I like the fact that they're learning the lesson on, and we'll give Brant full props on that if it's his doing, because
It's a whole team, though. It's not just Mike.
I know what I'm just saying that like the team itself is just doing a much better job at clarity coming out of the gate, and that's a big deal. Like just having the stratagems say when target effect is a big deal. Having your data cards have all of your weapons, all of your rules right there, and I'm 100,000% printing these bad boys out. I don't care how they come. You know what I mean? If I have to print them out on PDFs, but like having those cards right there is so amazing just to be able to go, here's my army. You can look through it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just easy, man. And that's what you want in a game. You want to have fun. We're at the end, as I say all the time, we're still playing with toy soldiers. So like have a good time, enjoy yourself. So anything that makes that easier to do is just what I want to do.
Definitely gives a lot of credence to the simplified, not simple phrase, right? Like,
yeah,
they are simplifying the understanding of the game, but not making the game like simple, stupid simple.
Right. And it's all just there. The thing is that you can have that. I hate going through the books and stuff like that. We'll see if the cards, because things are going to be FAQ and shit like that. But they're going to all electronic, which is nice. Maybe I'll just bring an iPad everywhere I go. So.
You're going to lose it. You know it. I know it.
I've already lost 2, by the way.
You can attach like a belt loop thing and just stick your cards on your belt.
Just
we're going to take it to Kinko's and get everything laminated for you. So when you sell wine all over.
Put them all around my neck on it, too. Just like a little kid with his bus pass. Just walk around. I've got my army, guys. Mom's got it in my lunchbox, which I lost.
So the one concern I do have, I feel like, so they've gotten rid of like all the chapter rules. They haven't really talked about any of that. So maybe it'll exist in the future, but like, what makes an Ultramarines list different than, an Imperial Fist list?
Well, I want that for sure. I've said that for a long time. I hated the fact that we were playing out of one book for a lot of those because I want the craft worlds to be different, the chapters to be different, and the legions for chaos to be different, like significantly different. And I hope that that's more like I did like seeing that in the demons is that you can only take demons of Nurgle in your Death Guard. You can only take demons of Khorne in your World Eaters and stuff like that. So they're immediately going, hey, don't be a clown. You can only take the shit that's thematically supposed to be in your fucking army. You know what I mean? You can't just show up with flamers and Khorne's just like, yeah, sure, man. We've been ancient allies forever. So.
Do you think they're going to bring back generic demons?
What do you, as far as
You know, like how they used to have like harpies and
like
the Chaos Undivided Demons.
oh yeah, I think that those would be there. With you had what's his face, the flyers for not flyers, but the flying demons forever. The why can't I-
Furies.
yeah,
Furies, that's it.
Furies have been there since the beginning of time, basically. I love those guys.
They have an undivided section in the book currently. Like there's soul grinders and whatever other garbage is in there, but
Whatever garbage. I love it. Whatever garbage is in there. But
if they bring those sick, it's like 30K or Forge World or whatever, those cool buff Chaos Spawn, that's what we want. We want the buff Chaos Spawn, not the spindly little bags of flesh.
Well, I think for Horus Heresy, they're releasing new undivided demon models in the near future. Like there was a teaser. I don't know if it was Warhammer Fest or Adepticon, but there was a teaser for that. So I wonder if they're going to build that into 40K. Because I would like to see some undivided demons.
Well, you saw one, Bellicor. He's undivided. What more do you need?
he's the
Not
first
Bellicor.
demon prince.
I want to see Malice. Bring back Malice.
Also, his lore in fantasy is like a billion times better than 40K. I'm sorry, but it just is.
But
Also the fact that he was just totally trying to fuck with Archaon the entire time in their storyline was amazing.
So, how do you think that they're going to tackle the special rules for factions? You think they're just going to be like a sentence or two things, an ability like, okay, salamanders get X to
at release? Yes, at release, yes. I think you're going to get just a blurb basically, but I think that you're going to get. I hope actually that you're going to get a book for each one. To be honest with you, yeah, I mean. I
think right now they're doing Black Templars, Blood Angels, Space Wolves, Dark Angels, and Death Watch. But there's still other armies that have had long histories, like White Scars, Imperial Fist, or Raven Guard, which don't appear to be getting any rules.
We'll see. I'd like to see that. Like I said, I'd like to see some independence on that. I'd love to see the craft worlds getting more love. Not just Eldar, but like have Bill Tan and Sam Hain and stuff like that all get very specific rules for themselves. Also the legions, you know what I mean? The legions are wildly different. Like the chapters are different in the way that they fight, but like the legions now are just like nutbag different than everybody else's per the legion. So that's a big deal. I'd love to see Chaos, but also Chaos used to have like real negatives, you know what I mean? Because you could only take certain things, but then they'd get huge bonuses for it, but you just couldn't have access to certain things. So Khorne used to have just like crazy ability. Like the World Eaters are actually a really good book right now, where you have like super powered hand to hand, and they just have shit for shooting. You know what I mean? That's your trade off. So I'd like to see more of that unique abilities on the table, so that the army looks unique, as opposed to just, hey, I'm playing a power armor guys, and it's this with a bonus. So,
and there are some definite things that have been forgotten in time. Like there's a lot of Chaos chapters that just don't have any support at all. Iron Warriors don't get anything ever.
They had some stuff at one point in time.
They should.
They actually
Their Primarch is still alive.
I mean, should they? Like you honestly, should they?
Yes.
Are they so uniquely different from anything else that's happening in Chaos? That
they're literally siege masters. It's their whole deal.
What are we sieging? We're playing. The game doesn't lend itself to a siege master thing.
Oh, I'll siege your house in a second. You take that back. Perturabo and I are showing up.
We're gonna build a trebuchet and launch at your house.
We're showing up with a guy that we're just gonna call Perturabo.
Iron Warriors, they literally dug ditches and made poop trenches, so they're not super great.
I mean, back in third edition, fourth edition, they had
They were
the fourth heavy support choice.
Yeah,
they had access
sweet
to Imperial Guard to siege tanks. Like they had a lot of character and fluff. And then ever since the Chapter House Studios lawsuit, a lot of that character and fluff just went away.
Also, John goes, because he was around for this. He goes, I miss your Bloodthirster randomly popping out of your Lord instead of the base lieutenant that had the chains. That's so chaos, because if a dude would die, he'd just have the chance of like shit happening. So
Like
like,
literally explode. Sergeants, lords, yeah.
yeah.
Wasn't that like the warp gift? Whatever, you could roll 2d6 and then.
Well, that was
roll
also a
2d6.
thing, but also if
That
you,
was an
you-
addition.
that
to
was
this.
in addition to this.
Hypothesis.
If you brought in a greater demon, it popped out of somebody, and you basically tried to make sure it came out of Lieutenant Dan because you had like blood, tattoos all over him because he was supposed to summon it, but there was a chance that you could have somebody else and basically pop out of them, and you're like, you had your lord that had 5,000 points of wear gear, and all of a sudden he's the bloodthirster, and Lieutenant Dan's still sitting there with his bolt pistol, and you're like, damn it, Lieutenant Dan!
I remember a game years and years ago with like a black mace could hit somebody, and if it were all the same profile, you'd have to roll, and it would just kill somebody with the same profile if you didn't roll your save. Bring that back.
Or you could bring the GSC like back when the Gene Stealers used to show up, and they had the special rule of sergeants and sarges acting funny, and you'd roll for everybody in their army, and you could have like any of their HQs or any sergeant had a chance of becoming Gene Stealer.
No, that was the Parasite and Mortrex. You made Rippers.
No, that was
100%.
for a million years ago.
100%, Brad. He was making Rippers. Ripper bases reverse.
Whatever. Like, Sarge is acting funny. That is true. The dudes in the Rhino, if you were with a Rhino and the dude became the Bloodthirster, they would kick him out. You're like,
And then he'd explode and become a bloodthirster.
right. You're just like, whoa. Old Lieutenant Dan's acting like a psycho. Get out of here, bro. Just drive away, leave him on the side of the road. All right. Thanks, everybody, for hanging out with us. We will try to make sure that we actually post up a freaking event next time. And we let everybody know that we're going to be doing this. But it is Wednesday at 1 o'clock that Brandon and I typically will be doing some hobby stuff. When I say we doing hobby stuff, I mean he'll do hobby stuff. But he's currently in a hotel room and he has limited hobby stuff. I would like to see you just hobbying in the hotel, just devastating the room.
Remember the last time that you and John Willingham hobbied in a hotel room and you damaged the table and had a $500 bill?
I don't know.
Because you got super glue all over the table.
I don't know what you're talking about. None of this stuff ever happened.
This totally happened. You were playing with the artificial snow and it looked like you were doing cocaine and super glue all over the place.
Well,
I can only
I've been
imagine
building-
what ladies thought.
I've been building some Hell Blasters. It's taking me 5 hours to make 5 of them, so that's hobbying.
it is hobby.
I'm proud of you.
Good
Are you
job.
getting ready for
Brandon.
Ultramarines?
No, just build it. We have boxes and boxes, just trying to cut them down.
Nice.
So after this weekend, Eloise and I went to the game store on Monday and we bought, like, Daryl over at the game room, he had a used pile of trade, like all the trade that he had acquired and people were no longer using because it was either damaged or just not in favor. He was selling for dirt cheap. So we bought like $50 worth of trade, like things that just need some tender love and we'll could definitely see the table. Or they're going to become basic materials for some bases. I also picked up some, only a year late, but the Horus Heresy starter set. Because I want to learn how to play. So now I have way too many points of old firstborn Space Marines, and I'm being silently judged by everybody who knows how much Space Marines I own.
You do own several of the Marines.
Like, that box looks so cool, though. Like, I'm a year late, but I'm ready to build it and try it out. I think I might paint them up as white scars. We'll see.
I like it. I'm going to do absolutely no hobbying whatsoever, and I ask for other people.
Somebody by the name of Brad did give me 2,000 points of Space Wolves and said, do something with this. So
True story.
We'll see what I do with them.
I did give you a bunch of prize support, too.
What do you got to do to get people to just lend you armies? What's the quickest way for me to get to that point?
I don't know. Like,
Have friends.
wander around aimlessly and ask for stuff. Be so feebly bad at certain things that people are like, dude, just step away from the models. We'll fix it for you. You're hurting my soul. You're so sucky. My unbelievable incompetence lends people to go, please move away before I hit you with something.
I need to get to that level where I can just show up somewhere and someone will bring an army.
Brad, how long have you been just being handed armies? It's been at least 6 years. But it's been longer than that, though.
Way
hasn't it?
longer than I started the game with that, because I just started using a bunch of snakes and shit in the beginning, too. I've been doing that since 23 years. Since the beginning. So It's all
Buying your
about.
own models is for the birds. I want other people to buy.
I buy models. Other people make them, and then they kind of just absorb them into their collective, and then I just use them.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense with how many times the armies change. Like, just if you have a group of friends, just buy a whole bunch of models and pull your resources together, and hopefully you guys don't get a divorce.
Or we get adopted. I'll just message Eloise. You'll adopt me, right? Can I join your thing?
She already offered you a job, and you said no. So
Tennessee's an awful stink place for losers.
An awful state place. I like you just.
At least there's a job for you that you're just like, nah, I'm good, bro. I'm gonna just chill around and do nothing instead.
I have to keep bringing my roommate to the car dealership every day.
Why did he not get a car last time?
Okay, when we start talking about jobs and going to get cars, this sounds horrific. So, on that note, everyone, I appreciate everyone hanging out with us today. We'll be live tomorrow, 7 o'clock.
And who's your special guest on Thursday, Brad?
I need to make sure that Todd and Laura are going to be there. We're going to talk about the Northeast Tournament Circuit.
Awesome. And you're going to talk about Votan too, right?
I'm also going to talk about Votan.
So make sure that everyone subscribes so you get that notification, and hopefully Brad schedules something 3 minutes before the event.
I don't know how to schedule things. Thank you very much. That's somebody else. So on that note, take it easy.